Welcome to the Shaping Freedom with Lisane Basquiat podcast. This is Lisane Basquiat, the host of this podcast. And I am really excited to introduce to you my next guest, who is a friend and a sister within a portion of my spiritual community. I met this person through our mutual involvement and practice of theta. And we've known each other now for quite a few years. This person and I have worked with each other, and I hate the whole thing. Sorry. I'm going to come back to that. Yeah. We'll just do the clap. Second clap. Fuck. Okay. Welcome to the Shaping Freedom with Lisane Basquiat podcast. This is Lisane Basquiat, your host. I am giggling because I am interviewing a very good friend of mine today. Her name is Brandy Knight. And Brandy and I met each other many years ago through our mutual theta practice. And so we've been students together. We have shared quite a bit with each other over the last few years. And we decided very recently that she was going to join me on this podcast so that we can chat all the things. And so I'm really, really excited to have you here today, Brandy. Say hello.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lisane.
And so Brandy Knight is the founder of Inner Calling. And she's also a published author, having published within a book called Legacy Speaks. And later on this month, in December of 2021, her book, Uncensored, Untamed, and Unleashed, will be published, which, I'm all about freedom and all about being untamed and unleashed. So I'm really excited about that. And then in January, Lineage Speaks will be published as well. And so I'm looking forward to you sharing with the audience a little bit more about what that's all about, what those publications are all about, and what you're sharing there. Brandy is also a Kundalini instructor and a theta practitioner, and she does energy work, and she's just a really high vibing, amazing human being. So I'm really excited to introduce her to the Shaping Freedom audience.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Hey, girl.
Say some hello, Brandy.
Hi. It's such an honor to be here for a lot of reasons, because our introduction was so juicy and so deep and so personal, and to witness each other grow and to share in our skill set and to support each other over the years has been really, really cool. And I feel like you've witnessed me kind of like turn into a woman. I feel like a woman, which is just, it's just it's so cool. It's so powerful. And just like a little nugget on the book situation is, Legacy Speaks was my first like official publication. And that multi-authored book was a collection of women coming to the table telling really powerful stories. It was like, what was the turning point? What was the thing that was the awakener? So it was like the beginning, kind of like the shit show prior, and then, what happened to wake up, and then what happened after the wake up. Mm-hmm. So that was really, really powerful. And then to be published and to have people read it, right?
Yeah.
A big deal. And so Lineage Speaks, which is coming out in January, is a little bit of a continuation for that. And what I brought to the table was a little bit different this time, where I went into a bit of a bigger picture, more of a planetary picture, as opposed to what was happening in my world. And now I took it to like, okay, this is what's happening in my world. This is what I'm applying in my world. And then this is the impact I intend to create planet on a planetary level.
Mhm.
And then Uncensored, Untamed, and Unleashed, coming out this December, is meant to be another collaboration book, and it's intended to be a guide, like a book of tools for anyone who feels like they need a little extra support, maybe new to the awakening experience, not really knowing what to do. Here's the book, take it, run with it. Something's gonna click. So that's more of like a guide, so to
Mhm.
speak.
So you talked about awakening. And you also talked about feeling today like you're a woman, which surprises me because you have always been, from my perspective, the epitome of feminine, powerful woman energy. Um, Tell me about this awakening piece. Like, what does that mean, and what has that meant for you?
Thank you, first off. Um, I'm like, right.
I'm a
Um,
woman.
I've had like a few awakenings throughout my life. But like the big one, like awakening for me looks like wool pulled, no more wool over the eyes,
Yep.
and there's no turning back, right? Like I can know, and Abraham talks about this, you know too much, there's no turning back. One of those where it's like, oh, I'm 100% committed and dedicated to whatever I need to do on a daily basis to step into my destiny, to achieve my goal, to create the legacy of why I came here in the first place.
Mhm. And by Abraham, you mean Abraham Hicks.
Abraham Hicks, right? So
Okay.
she was one of my first introductions to kind of like the world of alchemy.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so for me, a lot of it was becoming a mother. Was like, whoa, I have two choices here: get my shit together or not.
Hmm. Either
And
way, the child's going to walk the planet, either with a parent who decided to awaken, or the child of a parent who decided not to.
yeah,
So pulling, eh, let's talk about the wool over the eyes. Like, what is that? What does that look like? And because, as you know, like lineage for me, everything that I do, and part of my purpose for walking this planet is to help to uncover what we can do in order to strengthen our legacy, and to be aware of the fact that we are investing into legacy every single day, which is really investing into our lineage every single day. And whether we're aware of it or not, whether we are aware of the impact that we're having or not, and the fact that some decisions that I make today are going to have some kind of an imprint upon the life of my grandchildren and their children, and so on and so on. Just as the life that you and I are living today, you know, is the result and consequence of decisions that people made a couple of generations ago as well. So it is one of the most important things, I think, that we can be woke to during our journey here,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about that wool coming up over your eyes. I, what's up with that? What did it look like? Let's talk about some of the hard decisions you had to make, and how you have evolved yourself to this point that you're at today.
So that's, that can be a really simple yet powerful conversation. And because I came to the planet with some extra bits and pieces, let's say, around my connection to nature, to be able to, I had some abilities, right? Which is
Mhm.
very a lot of kids do. And so then it's like, okay, if you have a little extra, how are you utilizing it? How are you dealing with it? How are you handling it? What's going on there? And I had a really challenging time with it. And so I numbed it out in a lot of ways from a very early age, even before I got into like, drugs and partying and alcohol and, all the things that we do, or that some of us do anyways. I was wild. And a lot of that wildness came from, I almost deliberately put the rules over my eye myself.
I want to just to clarify things. So one of the things that Brandy is sharing is that she is an incredibly powerful healer, incredibly powerful, incredibly tuned in. And the reason why I want to stop here for a minute to address this is because, there are some people that enter this planet knowing that they have sight beyond what's happening in their everyday world. And that can be really challenging sometimes. And it can be really challenging to have that kind of wisdom in the body of a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 14 or 15-year-old, 18-year-old. And so I'd love for you, just for those folks who are either in that place in their life or the parents of people who are in that place in their life, let's talk a little bit about what that looks like and how you were able to navigate that.
Yeah. Communication is key. I mean, communication. So anything you can do as a person who is experiencing those gifts and those abilities, and it's a lot, or someone who's a parent of a child who is, showing these signs, opening up the throat chakra, using the voice in any healthy capacity. For like just some like brass tacks, as an example would be, grab a pillow and everybody scream or just make noise into the pillow. The pillow can help muffle, and so it's a little bit safer, or you don't need the pillow. And then you can kind of just like start punching the pillow while you're making noise. So what's happening is you're moving the energy through the body, you're moving your sound currents through your system, which then gives you not only more support and stability to the nervous system, but you get more comfortable with your own voice. And when you're comfortable with your own voice, you become more comfortable with the ability that might be attached to the voice, or, so that could be it is a really, really helpful tool to have on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think anything, just being aware that is like, there are ways to manage the way that you feel around having extra ability, even when you're navigating and understanding what it actually is, Yeah. All right. So tell me, keep your story going.
Keep the story going. Let's keep
your story going. Let's hear your story.
Yeah. So, the walls pulled over the eyes. I was doing a lot of avoidance work because I was holding everything in.
Yeah.
I witnessed a lot of people holding stuff in. So not only was it like a learned behavior, but because I didn't have a vocabulary attached to what my experiences were, it just was weird. Mm-hmm. It just, for lack of a better, more graceful way to put it. So, there was this wave of like, health stuff, and, the ability it doesn't go away. Even if I, was kind of blacking out, shit was coming through in dreams, it just doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. And, it was really when I got pregnant that I really decided to commit 100% to the process of awakening, which looks like, why has my behavior been this way? What am I doing? Who am I surrounding myself with? Am I taking accountability? What is accountability? Am I releasing my emotions in a healthy way? If not, how can I? And then I'm going to do it every day. How am I communicating in the most highest vibe way I can, all of that. And it was very diligent. It was a job. It was, purposeful. It was conscious. It was something I even had to set timers for and alarms for, because I was setting a new pattern that takes time, right? Those patterns take time so you have to, I'm an alarm setter. Like, what's on the calendar?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm screaming today, right? It's like,
screaming from 8:15 to 8:45. Tell me about some of these practices. Like, what do you actually do? What are your high vibe practices?
So for my personal work and my professional work are the exact same thing. My current kind of title is accountability coach, emotional release specialist, and Kundalini Alchemist. And under that are all of these different modalities, like the theta, like the NLP, like, like the hypnosis, all those things. So, but what I'm bringing to the table is what I brought to the planet, which are my unique abilities to be able to go in, see what's going on, or help a person eradicate it. And that's what I do to myself. So my daily practices look like every single day I wake up early in the morning and I do Kundalini yoga. I chant mantra. I meditate for at least an hour, hour and a half. Oftentimes I do it twice, 4 a.m., 7:30 a.m. And that's diligent. I mean, there's a lot of magic that's happening on a planetary level within those times.
At that time of day.
At those times of day. It's often called the golden hour, the Amrit Vela, the witching hour, wherever these times have been celebrated, since the beginning of time. So that is the commitment that I've made for myself. I see mega results. This is real stuff we're working with. It's a technology. These are sciences and technologies. And so that's how I start my day. Every day, all day, I'm playing mantra. Whether it's in my purse or in my home, I'm working with, crystal allies. I'm working with nature. I'm communicating and I'm taking full accountability, which looks like I don't have to like everything, but I understand that I chose to come here with a mission, and everything that I am experiencing, I have called in order to fulfill my mission. And it doesn't mean I have to like it, but it does mean I have to take responsibility for it. Even, and this is crazy, but even when we experience like trauma, right? Even abuse, even as a child, and this is really wild to consider, and it takes a lot to consider this sometimes, but I don't know what I might have been doing in some past life stuff or some quantum life stuff. Who knows, right? So then it's like, I'm coming here to experience whatever I need to experience, to move through whatever I need to experience. And sometimes that looks like trauma. Sometimes that might look like abuse, in order to fulfill that soul mission, to leave the legacy, to, as you were talking about the lineage, I might have gone through that in order to move through it, to heal the lineage, the ancestry, the future generations. So all of that looks like screaming, crying, moving, breathing, mantra, speaking, creating, the doing. You were talking about doing. What am I doing? What am I drawing, painting, creating? All of that.
So in talking about, you talked about accountability, and for those folks, if you're talking to folks who have done a lot of work and who understand the language of things like accountability, or the language that includes things like accountability or responsibility, for the person who is saying, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Like, I've had these horrible things happen. They're not my fault. What does that mean? Can you kind of unpack that a little bit more, Brandy? Just like, what does that look like? What does accountability look like?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's a really, really good question, and a really good point. So if anyone's listening to this and watching this and going like, what in the fuck are you talking about?
Like, that was not my fault, right? So let's get down to that. Yeah.
Let's get down to it. Okay. So we're going to take this conversation to a few different areas. One, what's happening in the Akash, or the subconscious landscape. Then we're going to go into like the vibrational frequency, right? So going back to kind of Abraham Hicks, law of attraction teaches us that thoughts turn to things. And so essentially what that also means is whatever is happening within my sound, the sound of my system, my vibrational frequency, which could have been put into place in this lifetime, prior lifetimes, or the genetic lineage, I'm going to be attracting whatever is a match to my sound. And oftentimes that sound or those imprints are contained within the subconscious landscape. So yes, shit sucks and it's not your fault on a conscious kind of 3D level. But when we get into this bigger experience of what it is to be God force energy, or a soul contained inside a human body, we are not just here to enjoy the planet. We're here to contribute to a bigger purpose, as far as what I know. No one else has to agree with that, but as far as what I know. So when I say take accountability and responsibility, it doesn't look like, oh shit, I caused that. It looks like, okay, that happened. What do I do with it? How can I learn? How can I grow? How can I use this to help others? What do I do with this? And so I bring into my work the fuck you, thank you. Fuck you. That sucks. I don't want that. I'm very clear that that's my no. But you know what? Thank you for this opportunity to go deeper with why I'm here and contributing to my lineage, contributing to my legacy.
And how do you do that?
And how do you do that? Okay, so it's a it's multifaceted for each and every person, depending on where they are with their communication and their relationship to emotional release. Mm-hmm. There are so many beautiful tools out there where the practitioner does stuff for you. And I'm in a place now with my work on myself and for my clients is I want to provide the tools so the clients are doing the work for themselves. So this looks like, that 4 a.m. practice, that 8 to 8:45 of screaming and crying and really getting it out of your system. There has to be a physical expression of emotional release, to me, which I feel is first, before you can even really grasp accountability, before you can even really step there and learn the lessons and provide, for others from what you've been through. And a lot of people might think that, like, I'm going to exercise, right? It's like, oh, I exercise my emotions out. It's like, that's cool, but that's not doing shit for your throat chakra, right? It's like, we're not, exercise, it's supportive. Get the massage, it's supportive, do the breath work, do everything, but you have to have a really beautiful relationship with your emotional expression. Yeah. So I'd say that would be first.
Yeah. I think part of it also is, like, I'll go back to some examples that I've shared in the past around things like, let's say something happens, you have an interaction with another human being that is a less than ideal one. Someone does something to piss you off. I always like to talk like straight up language, right? Somebody does something to piss you off, and it's a rotten thing that this person has done. You fill in the blanks, whatever that looks like for you. And there are a couple of options there for you. One is to say, oh, that person sucks, right? And that could very well be true. And we heal and we grow and we evolve when we take accountability in those situations. So option one is that person sucks. And then what you have drawn attention to is an experience that happened to you. And then you continue on your life to have your experiences. A second way of looking at it could be, wow, this person did these things. And then turning the attention back on yourself to say, wow, someone did something, someone overstepped, someone did something to offend me. And what I did was I set a boundary, Or someone did something to offend me and they clearly blew through a boundary that I had set and I didn't do anything about that. That's where the learning is. Or someone did something and now I'm going to take accountability for the situation by letting them know what they did and lovingly letting them know that, this is not a person that I want in my world or in my life. And so I'm not speaking, sometimes things do happen. And I don't want to imply that things don't just happen. Sometimes we live on this planet with a lot of other people, and some people are just, sometimes things happen. And 95% of the things that happen in our world are things that give us a very direct opportunity to learn and to grow, but you got to look at yourself. Look at the other person, but that's not doing a whole lot for you. What's going to help is when you look at yourself in the situation.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
It's in the spiritual community, there's this whole, there's a lot about the universal mirror and the mirror's reflection and all that kind of stuff. And I think that is true. And I think a lot of times that if you're met with some undesirable behavior from another person, it's not necessarily that you're treating others in that way that they are mirroring to you. It's oftentimes that you're treating yourself the way that this person is treating you. And so with that's like where the fuck you thank you comes in, where it's just like, oh my God. And I've been in this place recently around unapologetic living, where I no longer require people to apologize for what they've done, because I am able to learn from it all and see how I've created that experience for myself. It doesn't mean that I might want that behavior in my life again. I'm very communicative. But it's like, okay, that's not a match for me. That's not a match for me. That's okay. If that's a match for you, that's totally cool. But it's no longer kind of like, and then getting other people on board, like, this cancel culture shit where it's just like, oh, let's hate everybody and cancel them. It's like, how about this pay attention to something else, right? It's like, and so that's what I do. It's like, wow, that is not a match for me, but ooh, okay, what's up? So there's a lot of different ways we could go about this, but that where am I choosing to focus? Where's the boundary? Where's the chink in the armor of the boundary? Where can I develop a deeper relationship with myself?
Absolutely. And what do you do about those situations when you're confronted with them?
Yeah. And I am not a big fan of holding things in a moment where shit hits the fan. Because it creates so much toxicity in your body. So other people might not agree with this, but if something's in your field and you don't like it, say it. And there's a responsible way to do that. And if you have that daily practice, you know that when shit hits the fan, you're going to come to the table in a very responsible way. So it might be messy at first, right? You might go like, what the fuck?
I'm from New York. Like we don't really hold things in. We just say it. There's a lot of fifth chakra released in the Northeast.
Do you notice that after you release that, like, you're not carrying it around with you for the rest of the day and the week and the dreams and everything? It's just like, I get it out and then I move on.
Yeah. And I think also it's really a lesson in being able to setting yourself up for success and processing what's going on. Because what happens is that something happens and it's like feedback, right? The best time to give feedback is when the thing happens. When you walk away and you kind of go off and think about other things, and then other thoughts come into the situation, you are then carrying around double what actually happened. It's kind of like when you're training a new puppy, when you're house training a puppy, right? And the puppy does the offense, on your carpet, whatever. if you go back to that puppy 3 days later to talk about what they did, they are just like, what are you talking? I don't even know what you're saying. They've gone on to a million other things. And so it really is most beneficial to address what needs to be addressed in the moment that something happens, even if, and this is for the folks who say, oh, I just need to give it some time so I can, process and all that. That's fine if that's what works for you. And it's really important to understand how important it is to process the thing, deal with it so that you can move on. And sometimes when we go to do what we call process, we're actually finding out ways, looking for ways to edit and to filter and to come up with, the right thing to say to the person versus saying, even if you don't have the full answer, sometimes it could be as simple as, that really hurt. I feel hurt by what you said. And I don't want to go off on you right now, or I don't really know exactly what I'm feeling. And I will come back to you, but I'm feeling hurt by what happened, versus pretending.
Perfect.
Walking around with it, it's not the most productive thing to do. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about, you've done a lot of talking about creating your imprint on the planet. And I know that you're, a large part of what you're doing during this lifetime is focused on ensuring your accountability for the imprint that you're making on this planet. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. I am no stranger to fucking shit up. And I would say, the thing that my personal journey has required the most in order to leave the imprint that I want is to strengthen my nervous system, because I am so sensitive and in such a powerful way that when you, I'm sure you know this, right? It's like when your aura is expanded to a place where you are front facing and people are listening and people are looking, 1/3 of the people are going to love it. 1/3 of the people are going to, and then 1/3 of the people are really not going to be into your shit, and they're going to be vocal about it. So that has been, especially in this past year and a half, 2 years, of how can I upgrade my nervous system in a way where that's okay. That's part of it. Because I'm here to be a leader in a certain capacity where I'm walking the talk of this work, and people are going to love it or they're not. So that's been a big one. And so what I do is I dive into massive amounts of Kundalini yoga, massive amounts of emotional release work, massive amounts of speaking. And, as far as that unapologeticness goes and accountability goes, is I am really working on not apologizing for the things that I've done and the things that I do, because I know I'm clear with my intention, and I know I'm not here to get it perfect. I'm here to do my best. And so if I do something that someone doesn't like, and that's part of leaving a legacy, that's part of it. I know I'm doing my best. Previous, could I say that I was doing my best? There's times when I weren't, but when I wasn't. So what I've really done, what other people could do, is okay, break it down. What do your daily tasks look like? Okay. And then go 6 months into the future, or what, after you transition off the planet, what is left behind? If I die tomorrow, what's left? And if I'm focused on paying my bills, and if I'm focused on whatever else, and while I'm focused on those things, I am not happy, thriving, passionate, then my legacy is going to disappear. My imprint is going to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that paying the bills and all the things aren't important, but we have to ask, why am I here and why am I doing this? And how am I focused while I'm doing this? Because what I want, if there's not a piece of the essence of what I want contained within each and everything that I do throughout my day, I'm not going to leave the legacy that I came here to leave.
And what is that?
My legacy is to guide others into waking up. I'm here now. I'm here now. And I'm here now. Oh my God, I'm here now. There are so many, we're contained right now within like what one could say a war on consciousness. And so how can I be sure that I'm tapped into my consciousness? These are my transmissions that I'm choosing to tap into. These are my transmissions that are truly serving my highest and best. These are my transmissions that are really serving my highest and best, my path and purpose, instead of just kind of infiltrated by fear and distraction and the best house and the body and the fashion and whatever else. Now, I'm not saying don't pay attention to those things, but where are you, how are you aligned? What's your sound doing? How can you make sure, even just from your posture, that you're focused on those things in a way that is for you? Mm-hmm. So that is my legacy, to encourage people to wake up and be as most of them as they can while they're here.
The most of who you are, that comes from eliminating the parts of you that, or the behaviors that truly are not you.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. How do you stay in the now when things are batshit crazy around you? What do you do to stay in the now?
Kundalini yoga, mantra, meditation, key. Your brain is a tool. It's like, it's a radio, right? And so it's like, am I going to haphazardly tune my radio into, songs on repeat that I don't like, right? Or not, right? I have to manually turn the knob of my own tuner in order to stay in the now. So I am continuously chanting mantra. I am continuously doing some breath work throughout the day. I'm continuously looking now. I'll even say now, and I'm here now, and I'm here now. So for me, mantra is the name of the game. And when you practice meditation and mantra, in something like a Kundalini yoga or a Qigong or something like that, you've strengthened, right? You've become kind of like an athlete, master practitioner of your own, mechanism. That's key. And you have to believe the mantras that you're saying. So I chant, I chant ancient mantras, right? These yogic mantras. But you could even do like an affirmation, but an affirmation that you fucking believe, not an affirmation that you don't, right? It's like,
you're not going to chant your way into believing something.
Right. And so many people do, right? But it's like, an example could be, I really want to get to a place where I love myself. I know that I want to believe that I want, something like that you actually can like genuinely vibrate like in resonance with. So for me, how I get into my now, mantra, Satnam, 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 Waheguru, 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 driving down the street, Waheguru, 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 and then look out the window, nature, hands, right? So almost like a lucid dreaming technique, but while you're awake, my hands, just like coming into like a very tactile experience with your own physical form. Those are some really good tools. How about you? What do you do? What do
I do to stay in the now?
Yes, ma'am.
My morning practice is really important. And that is, those first few minutes of the day. And there are days where it's an hour, or there are days where it's 15 minutes. There are days where it's, an hour and a half. It depends on what's going on. And my day, most of the time, my intention is for my day to start with clear intention. Like, what do I have going on today? And what do I want? out of this day? What do I want for myself out of this day? What do I want for the people with whom I interact? What do I want from myself and from the people with whom I interact, and from God, and from whatever support is around me, both the support that I'm acutely aware of and conscious of, and the support that's outside of the realm of what I can see on a day-to-day and minute-to-minute practice. So that is a vital part of the way that I start my moments every day. And then it's really remembering who I am and that I'm not alone in the moments throughout my day. So, for example, right now, you and I are talking, and I'm here. And I'm not going to say that there aren't times where I'm in a conversation and I'm thinking about other things, but really, I make a concerted effort to be in the thing that I'm actually doing. So if I'm washing dishes, I'm washing dishes. If I'm washing dishes and listening to music, I'm washing dishes and listening to music. And if I'm washing dishes, listening to music, and ranting about something that someone did to piss me off or something that I'm doing or not doing, then I'm consciously aware that that's what I'm actually spending my time doing. Because what that helps me with is ensuring that I am giving the proper energy or the appropriate energy to the appropriate situation. Right? Because if not, I can get up and it'll be like 2 hours later, and I've spent 2 hours cursing somebody out in my head, or cursing some situation out in my head, and not, and, just having it be time that just leaked away from me, versus saying, you know what? No, I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes, and that blah, blah, blah did such and such. And I'm going to like do this so that there's an end to it for me, And so it's really, what I have found is that I have the best days when I'm clear, and when I've taken the time to take care of myself, and when I've taken the time to check in with myself, and to ensure that the relationship with myself is intact, loving, and of high quality. Because once my relationship with myself is tended to, I find that everything else kind of lays out and happens, in a pretty good way. And it doesn't mean that I don't have situations that are more challenging than others, or challenging conversations that I have to have. I want to have those conversations having been in love with myself, so that I can exude that to other people. Because when I don't, Lisane is a whole different character. Lisane, I'm impatient. I will cuss your ass out. It's all about blocking and protection, and my space versus your space, or, seeing what you do as the collective you as something you're doing against me, versus me having this experience and witnessing different things and choosing how I'm going to interact and with those situations that occur.
It's spicy.
Oh, I know. That's what I do. That's my thing. And lots of walks. Taking a walk is, and I think that's part of the movement that you talked about. When being aware of my energy, sometimes, when there's a lot going on, I can feel like this I could feel, tension, what's defined as tension or labeled as tension. And I can either sit with that and just experience myself having tension, or what works for me is get up and move. And so sometimes it's a walk around the block, right? It doesn't have to be like this whole, thing. Sometimes it's simply walking around the block. And what I find is that as I start to move, that energy starts to move as well and kind of even out. And then I feel better and my thoughts are a little clearer. And I realize that the thing that happened is not the end of the world. It has not, my entire Apple cart is not overturned. It's just a thing that goes from being like this huge thing to like being a 10-minute blip, that I can move on from. Yeah. What? Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you develop this relationship with yourself where you can understand your patterns and your behaviors and what's going on, then you can give yourself the time and space and the tools that you need so you can show up, like you were saying, when I can show up with all that is me, and I can show up with like a dialed relationship with myself. And, because I have access to so much information, and all the information could potentially serve my highest and best. But I know with me, as I learned my kind of like my human design astrology, which is a whole other ballpark, but it's been so helpful for me. It's like, oh, okay. So, my pattern is, I have access to the information. I go all over the place because I have the energetic resource to be able to pull off every option that I'm downloading. But then I need to not do that and let the quiet come. And then there's the path.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because I think there are people for whom meditation, journaling, that kind of thing comes naturally. And there are other people that really maybe don't feel the same way. And I'm really happy that you just said that, because what it reminds me of is that this work that we do, all of this work, is really so that you can quiet down enough to be able to learn who you truly are. And when you walk the planet, taking in only external stimulus and walking around kind of reacting to what people are doing and saying and the circumstances that befall you, you can literally carve yourself out of the equation. And so these practices of sitting down for an hour and a half, as you do a couple of times a day, and just like getting quiet and connecting and mantra and prayer, whatever it is that you're doing, those are ways to really help you to witness who you really are and how you're really behaving on this planet, so that you can course correct where you need to, or bring out of you the things that you really want to bring out of you. And that happens when you give yourself the time. And the relationship with yourself is just like a relationship with anyone else, right? So try having a relationship and not being willing to give an hour a day to that relationship. That relationship is going to stall. It's going to be stagnant. It's not going to grow. And so when we're willing to look at the relationship that we're in with ourselves with that same intention, that same intention, that same juiciness, that same curiosity, like, oh, how interesting is it that people just dog you out and you seem to smile about it and not say anything, but when you know that you don't really want that, and that there's something that you have to say, but you're not expressing that. How interesting is that? What are we going to do about that? Right? You can't, it's hard to get there unless you've given it the time and energy and attention.
I love that. And it's not easy, right? Like none of this is easy, but you develop the muscle and the resilience that you, and the stamina that you need, so that you're ready to show up and you have the courage behind it. So you do it, becomes your new normal. I love that comparison with a relationship and anyone who might be doing like reparenting with themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Right? It's like, how much time are you going to give your own child?
Yeah.
You have to give yourself at least some sort of fraction of that time when you're doing this work, if you want it to make a dent.
Yeah. Brandy, tell me about I have two questions for you. One is and you talked earlier about like your legacy. like Brandy Knight, what do you want people to know about you after you have left this lifetime?
Wild, courageous, hilarity, deeply loving and passionate, ultra creative and talented, and a mama.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would you say to the younger woman who was doing a whole lot of avoidance work many years ago? What would you say to her today?
It's okay to cry. It's okay. It's okay to feel. You can feel. It's okay to express. It's okay to speak. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to know. It's okay to know. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to be accurate.
That it's okay. I think
It's
that's
okay.
what people want to know, that it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Brandy, thank you so much.
Lisane, thank you.
Thank you
I
so
love you.
much. I love you too. And we haven't spoken in a really long time. So it's really nice to have a chance to talk and to share, even if we're doing it in front of a whole bunch of people. I'm really happy that we did a little tango today. This feels really good. I know that tell the audience where they can get in contact with you and what you can help them with.
You can hop on my website, Inner Calling, INNERCAULLING.com. All of my information's there. You can contact me, all my, Instagram, all that's there. What I am bringing to the table is a personalized, prescriptive, yogic, emotional release experience. It's a guided personal experience where you are applying tools every day to your life, where you can step into your destiny, remember why you came to the planet and fulfill your mission and leave your legacy for your lineage.
Brandy, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you too.